Hello everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short Story 595, The Plumber's Secret, Words with a Silent B, Intermediate. A story incorporating words which are pronounced with a silent B. Mr. Finch, a retired plumber, lived a quiet life. For years, he had carried a heavy and private debt, a feeling that settled in his stomach like a lead weight. He kept his home meticulously clean, even using a fine-toothed comb to groom his grey hair each morning. He was an honest man, but he lived with a deep sense of doubt about a mistake from his past. He felt numb to the joys of the world, haunted by a choice he had made decades ago. One evening, a storm was brewing. The wind howled and the old house groaned. A pipe in his cellar burst, and Mr. Finch, despite his age, knew he had to fix it himself. He grabbed his torch and began the climb down the narrow, creaking ladder. As he worked, his old, injured thumb throbbed, a constant reminder of the physical damage he had once sustained. He had always been known as a quiet man, but some people in the village used to think he was dumb because of his lack of conversation. The truth was, his silence was a direct result of his secret. As he worked on the pipe, a small, loose crumb of plaster fell from the ceiling and landed on his shoulder, catching his attention. He looked up, and his torch beam revealed a small, hidden hatch. Curiosity got the better of him. He pushed the hatch open with his good limb and peered inside. There, tucked away in a small compartment, was a dusty box. He opened it carefully and found a replica of an old, unexploded bomb from the war, a trinket he had kept hidden for his own reasons. It was a subtle clue, a symbol of the moment that had changed his life. The memory was as clear as day. A young Mr. Finch, then a young plumber, had risked his own safety to rescue a farmer's young lamb from a disused well. He was successful, but the bomb, which he had been trying to retrieve from the well, was a dud he had thought was real. This had been a huge embarrassment for him, making him a joke in the village. He had promised himself he would never be so careless again, but the fear of making another mistake had turned him into a silent man. He had created his own private tomb of secrets. Looking at the replica now, the old plumber finally smiled. He had paid his emotional debt. He had been a hero, a little foolish perhaps, but a hero nonetheless. He decided right then and there to start living, to talk to his neighbors, and to finally put his past behind him. Vocabulary notes. Meticulously. Meaning, with great attention to detail, very carefully and precisely. Example, he kept his home meticulously clean. Similar words, carefully, thoroughly, scrupulously. In a sentence, she prepared the presentation meticulously, checking every slide for spelling errors. Groaned. Meaning, made a low, mournful sound, often from pain, despair, or, in this case, from pressure or strain. Example, the wind howled and the old house groaned. Similar words, creaked, moaned, rattled. In a sentence, the heavy door groaned as he pushed it open. Throbbed. Meaning, beat or pulsed with a strong, continuous rhythm, usually due to pain or emotion. Example, his old, injured thumb throbbed. Similar words, pulsed, ached, pounded. In a sentence, the cut on her finger throbbed painfully after she bumped it. Peeked. Meaning, looked quickly or stealthily, especially through a small opening. Example, he pushed the hatch open with his good limb and peered inside. Similar words, glanced, looked, peered. In a sentence, the child peeked around the corner to see if anyone was there. Trinket. Meaning, a small item of jewelry or other decorative object. In this context, it refers to a small object with sentimental value, not necessarily monetary value. Example, a replica of an old, unexploded bomb from the war, a trinket he had kept hidden for his own reasons. Similar words: bauble, charm, keepsake. In a sentence, he kept a small silver trinket from his grandmother on his bookshelf. Story written by Gemini Pro AA. Image created by Imagio AA. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. CC Music, Drifting at 432 Hz, Unicorn Heads.
All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're getting into a really emotional story. It's all about a quiet plumber, a secret he's kept for decades, and the incredible weight of things left unsaid. It's a look at how just one single moment can shape an entire lifetime of silence.
So let's just jump right in. Before we even meet our main guy, I want you to think about that. Really consider it. Imagine the sheer energy it takes to keep something buried for decades. How would that silence shape you? Who would you become?
Okay, so let's meet Mr. Finch. He's a retired plumber, and on the surface his life is, it's all about routine. Super quiet, super simple, you know the type, right? The kind of person you probably see all the time but never really see. But here's the thing, that quiet exterior, it's totally a mask. For decades, he's been lugging around this incredible weight. And it's not a financial debt or anything like that. It's an emotional one, tied to a single moment. The story even describes it like having a lead weight sitting in his stomach. Just imagine that. And this secret, it's really done a number on him. It's left him feeling haunted, totally disconnected from any of the simple joys in life. He's just numb. His whole life has become this performance, A performance of being normal, but the only person in the audience is himself. So how does he deal with it? By controlling the one thing he can, his home. He keeps it meticulously clean. Every single spotless surface is like another brick in the wall he's building to keep all that inner chaos contained. And this is where you really see that huge gap, right? The difference between what people see and what's actually going on. To the village, he was just a quiet, maybe even a dumb man. But the reality? His silence was anything but simple. It was a shield. A carefully constructed defense built around one single haunting choice he made a long, long time ago. Okay, so now things are about to get shaken up. A crisis on the outside is going to force a crisis on the inside. It all kicks off with a massive storm, a burst pipe, and it forces Mr. Finch to go down into his cellar, which is really a journey down into his own past. I love this line. The atmosphere is just perfect. The house itself seems to be in agony, which is a perfect mirror for what's going on inside Mr. Finch, right? It's groaning under the pressure of the storm, just like he's been groaning under the pressure of his secret.
Yeah, that word groaned is just so good. The house isn't just making noise, it's not just creaking, it's expressing pain. It's alive with it, just like he is.
So as Mr. Finch gets to work on the pipe, the story gives us another clue. He's got this old thumb injury, and all of a sudden it starts to pulse with pain. And you just know this isn't some random detail. It's a physical reminder, an anchor, pulling him right back to the memory he's tried so hard to escape. And throbbed, that's such a living word. It's not a dull ache. It's a pain with a pulse, a heartbeat, a constant rhythmic reminder of a memory that just refuses to stay buried. So he's down there working on the pipe, and then something totally unexpected happens. A tiny piece of plaster falls from the ceiling. It catches his eye, he looks up, and that little moment is about to unravel his entire life. And what does he see? Something that absolutely should not be there. A small, hidden hatch. It's a literal doorway, right? A door to a part of his past that he sealed off ages ago. A compartment he built just to hide this secret away. So he opens it up, and inside there's this little, dusty box. And what's in the box? Get this, a replica of an old, unexploded bomb from the war. It's such a strange, deeply personal thing, the one object that symbolizes the exact moment his entire life went in a different direction. And it's no accident the story calls it a trinket. It's not worth any money. Its only value is sentimental. It's the physical representation of an event so powerful that he had to hide it from the world, but couldn't bring himself to get rid of it completely. The second he touches this thing, boom! The floodgates just burst open. He's not in his cellar anymore. He's transported back decades, right back to that one single event that made him build this prison of silence in the first place. Wow, a private tomb of secrets. That is such a powerful and, honestly, a devastatingly accurate way to put it. His silence wasn't just a quirky habit. No, it was a self-imposed burial. He literally entombed his own spirit to protect himself from what other people might think. So what was this big secret? Well, here it is. As a young man, a farmer's lamb fell into a well, and down there with it was what he thought was an old, unexploded bomb. So terrified but determined, young Mr. Finch goes down there to rescue the lamb and deal with the bomb. And you know what? He does it! He bravely saves the animal. But then, the village finds out the bomb was a dud. It was fake. And just like that, his act of incredible courage gets twisted into a joke. The hero becomes the village idiot. And that's it. That is the absolute core of his entire story. It wasn't the lamb, it wasn't the fake bomb, it was the laughter. That fear of being judged, of being seen as a fool ever again was so overwhelmingly powerful that it shut him down for the rest of his life.
All right, so let's get to the resolution. Because now, after finally confronting this memory head-on, his past starts to look different. And it's that subtle shift in perspective that is going to finally set him free.
Holding that little replica now, all these years later, the shame just starts to melt away. He sees it clearly for the first time. He wasn't a fool. He was a hero. A little foolish maybe, but a hero nonetheless. He acted bravely when he thought the danger was 100% real.
And with that one simple realization, the emotional debt is paid off. It's done. He makes himself a new promise right then and there. He's going to talk to his neighbors, he's going to put his past behind him, and after a whole lifetime of hiding, he's finally actually going to start living.
Which really leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? Mr. Finch's story is this brilliant example of how the stories we tell ourselves about our past literally create our present. So, it makes you wonder, what past mistake in your own life could you reframe as a moment of courage?